The last time I was in Turkey, just over 5 years ago, this 100 lira note was worth around 14 pounds or 18 US dollars. Today, it's worth £2.47 and $3.07. So what's happened to the Turkish lira? And has it become so expensive that you can't visit Turkey anymore? The inflation has rocketed in the last few years, and in this video I'm going to walk around Istanbul showing you a few of the prices of things as of May 2024. This spot here by the Süleymaniye Mosque, which is my favorite in Istanbul, is a great one to overlook the city and the Bosphorus and visit a mosque which, although still busy with people, is a little bit less intense than Hagia Sophia or the Blue Mosque. The good thing about this mosque is that it's free to enter. I've just been inside and soaked in the atmosphere once again during prayer time as well, and it didn't disappoint. So let's go through the prices of some of the attractions here in Istanbul, along with Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque being 25 euros. You also need to pay 25 euros to enter the Basilica Cistern, which I visited last time. Incredible place, but quite expensive. The price has gone up for that. And then you have the Topkapi Palace, which was the home, the court of the Ottoman Empire. That one is the most expensive of all. It's 1,500 lira. So many of the main attractions here in Istanbul, the price of them has gone up. And so that's something you want to take into account. I think that might be in accordance with inflation, but also the number of tourists that visit Istanbul every year hasn't, I don't think, changed so much since the inflation has begun to rise. So leaving the grounds of Süleymaniye and heading down to Eminönü, which is the main touristy area of Istanbul, as well as the Galata Tower area on the other side of the Galata Bridge. But I want to show you the prices of this area, as likely it'll be where you spend a lot of time if you are visiting Istanbul. Just pushing through the incredibly crowded market areas near the Spice Bazaar or the Egyptian Bazaar here. Hello guys. In fact, the Turkish lira has actually lost 82.6% of its value against the US dollar in just the last 5 years, and 40% in the last year alone. For the pound, it's fairly similar reading. Now, you might be thinking that it's in your favor that the exchange rate is so generous to the pound, the dollar, or the euro, or any strong currency. But actually, it's not always the case. When inflation reaches such a rate, the cost of everything becomes expensive, and so even if you're getting a lot of lira for your pounds or your dollars, you're still spending way more than you would a few years ago in Turkey. And when you put it like that, you can only imagine what it's like for the locals who hold local currency and have to compete with this inflation and the spending power of foreigners in these touristy areas, especially in Istanbul, where the prices are higher than the rest of the country. So you can imagine, if you're a Turkish person and you want to travel, exchanging your money is extremely costly at the moment. And the minimum wage in Turkey rose to about 17,000 lira $530, which was a 100% increase from the year before. All right, so I'm actually after some late brunch. I'm going to head to a place where I can get myself my favorite Turkish breakfast dish, which is menemen. And in that restaurant, I will show you the prices on the menu to give you an idea. But before I do that, let me give you a breakdown of the prices for the pound to the Turkish lira, and I'll also do the US dollar as well. So I'm using a website called XE, which is great for currency conversion. £1 today is almost 41 lira. And if we check £5, that's almost 205 lira, 204.91. Let's do £20, 819 lira. £50, just over 2,000 lira, 2,049. And £100, double it, 4,098 lira. What about the US dollar? Well, as of today, then $1 will get you 32.21 lira. $5 will get you 161 lira. $20, 644 lira. $50 will get you 1,610 Turkish lira. And $100, 3,221 Turkish lira. All right, so here are the prices. Right in the center of a pretty touristy area. A breakfast for $2.90, $7.50 for 2 people. You can get a menemen for about £3, and one with cheese for a little bit extra, $1.60. And then you can see the other breakfast dishes here. Omelette for £3. Turn over the page. Different sandwiches and toasties here for around £3. And other dishes, let's go to the mains. Okay, they have burgers, but let's go to the Turkish food. A durum wrap for $2.40. And pizza, $3.10. Different meals here, the price is going up a little bit. You're seeing 300 plus, $3.10 for a chicken skewer. Kebab here. Manti, $2.50. Pastas for $2.40. Kunafa, $1.60. Baklava, $1.80. And you'll notice how they've written all the prices with a whiteboard pen, so you can rub them out and do them again when the inflation rate changes. Carrot juice, $1.40. Pomegranate, $1.50. That's good. You'll usually see people selling it for more than 200 on the street in Eminonu. A Turkish coffee here is 75 lira. And a chai, Turkish tea, 30 for a small glass, 50 for a cup. All right, so I just finished my breakfast brunch there in Eli Cave Cafe. It has a 4.9 rating on Google, which is why I chose it. I had a menemen, which was 160. The chai was 30 lira. A little bit cheaper than Western Europe, but still a lot pricier than what Turkey used to be like, although it is still kind of affordable, I would say. Even in the most touristy area, you can still find decent-ish prices with good quality food as well. Here we are, Turkey's beloved Simit Saray, which I just butchered the pronunciation of. This is an international chain now. You'll see them in London and other major cities. $1.60 for Borek and Durum. Sandwiches here, $1.40. $1.20 for a slice of pizza. Schmidt, $43. Borek here, cheese for $1.25. Cheese sandwich and Schmidt for $85. Different cakes are 135. Alright, so I'm now sat upstairs in the Shumin Shirai, and Turkish people, please let me know in the comments below if this is somewhere you still visit, or has it become too expensive? Is it about average price? Let me know. I have my Turkish coffee there, which cost 60 lira, and then I've got Choco Çörek, I think it's called. I just wanted to get a pastry for the sake of the video. That's 60 lira, and the water came to 18 lira. If you want a classic Turkish chai tea, then it's going to cost you 50 lira here, which is more expensive, and you can get it in a local place for probably about 15 or 20 still. So yeah, it's not quite Starbucks prices, but it's closer to them, and it's certainly more expensive than it probably was a year or two ago. It's the following day. It actually started to rain once I left Simit Sarai, and so I thought I would continue this video in better weather and start by showing you my Airbnb here, which is located near the Galata Tower. You can see it just poking up there. This is the view of the street. And my room, double bed, kind of private apartment, although very small. Desk and fridge and a tiny sink, and then the ensuite is there. So this costs £30 for one night, which would be expensive maybe in some countries, but in Istanbul this is a very good deal to have an apartment like this near the center of Istanbul by the Galata Tower, one of the more touristy areas with plenty of restaurants and cafes and cool streets around. So expect to pay at least £30 for any private room on Airbnb or in a hotel, and likely it'll be a little bit more than this. This is quite a good find here, and so expect to pay maybe 40 or 50 pounds a night for most decent hotel rooms. And if you're interested in going to Istanbul on a budget, then I'd recommend a hostel. And I've actually stayed at 2 different hostels since I've been here. Stylish hotel. It has a couple private rooms. The area is a little bit rough, I would say, but that one was only around £10 a night. And then I also stayed at Wabi Sabi, which is close to Taksim Square. Very comfy with curtains and clean bathrooms and showers. So that will give you an idea of some accommodation prices at the moment in Istanbul as of 2024. So let's head outside now, and I will show you one of my favorite places to eat. Really great fresh food and affordable too, for a part of Istanbul near Taksim Square, which sees a lot of restaurants hike their prices. I'm also going to walk into a supermarket and show you the cost of a few basic everyday items. Leaving my Airbnb and heading out towards the tram, and I'm going to show you the metro system here and the cost of getting around Istanbul. So this is an Istanbul card, and you'll need one to use the public transport in the city. You can top it up, £17.70 for one journey on the metro / tramway, which passes all over Istanbul to Asia. I'm going to get on this one as I make my way towards Taksim. Here it's one stop up to Taksim on one of the funicular lines, F1. Again, I can use my Istanbul card. As I said, it includes all modes of transportation, so buses you can hop on, just use Google Maps to identify where you want to go and click the buses tab, and it will tell you which number bus you need. You can use your Istanbul card for that. And then also on the ferry going from Eminönü to Üsküdar or Kadıköy, you can also use your Istanbul card. And for those who aren't aware, there is also the Marmaray, which is part of the metro system. It goes underneath the Bosphorus. You can cross between Europe and Asia that way. So you don't have to necessarily take the ferry to get to Asia or Europe from one side of Istanbul to the other. It can be on the metro as well. This one cost me, I think, around 15 lira for this quick funicular journey, which takes us up to Taksim. Doors are closing, maybe I can make it. While we're here, I want to show you how easy it is to check your Istanbul card. Just place it here like this and see my balance is 51 Turkish Lira. You can top it up with card or cash. And let's just go back to the menu. I want to show you that you can change the language to English. There you go, top up. Or you can buy a 3-day pass for, or sorry, 3-journey pass for 70 lira. But I'd recommend just paying 70 lira for the Istanbul card, and then it's easy to just top up and get around the city. So walking on a little bit north from Taksim Square, let's take a look inside one of these supermarkets at the prices of things. Okay, loaves of bread here. 72 lira, 63. A bag of pasta, 20 lira, 20 up here as well. Oil's very expensive. I know a lot of people use sunflower oil in Turkey, 209. Olive oil is much more, 394, 434, 634. Cheeses looking quite expensive. This one's 65 for a small, 43 here, again small, 145 President cheese. A bigger block, 187, 159, 128. A pint of milk, almost £2, 74. These ones, 39, so about £1 there. Avocados, 24 lira per kilogram. Bananas, 97. Blueberries, 59. A standard can of Tuborg, 75 lira. It's 63 for a Carlsberg. And a bottle of water here, small one, 10 lira. The bigger ones, 16. So some of the prices in there for things like oil and cheese are really expensive, especially if you're a local. So let's head for some food now in a favorite place of mine. So I'm inside now. It's called Kebapçı Celal, and you can get an Adana kebab for 230, chicken shish for 200, durum for 170, ayran 25 lira, 10 lira for a water. Teşekkürler.
You're welcome.
There we go, chicken shish, look at that, with salad there. And some bread on the side, spiced, all for 200 lira. Teşekkürler. Tomatoes, hot off the skewer. Okay, so dinner down, and I'm gonna end the video here. I hope it gave you a good idea of the prices here in Turkey's largest city. I think I may do another video on the prices in another part of the country when I head further east, maybe in Antalya or maybe one of the eastern cities. Let's see, and we'll compare the prices with Istanbul here. But from Taksim Square, I'm gonna leave it here on this one, and I'll see you on the next video in Turkey. Peace.